Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Thank you for coming back for another episode. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about tomatoes. Last time we did peppers. Today we're focusing on tomatoes. I'm going to show you a different method of seeding, of germinating, and then I'll just plant as usual for tomatoes. So if you missed the episode covering peppers, please, you can click on that link. You'll get an idea of what we need, what we did to start seeding the peppers. As I mentioned, even in that episode, is the same system, just we're doing it twice. But before I continue, I would like to say a big thank you for those of you who have followed, those of you who have shared, those of you who have asked questions, those of you who have reached out to encourage me. I thank you. I truly do not take it for granted. As I said, encouragement to continue. One step at a time, we will get there. So for tomatoes, tomatoes is a little bit different than peppers. With tomatoes, there are different types of tomatoes. They're very, very different types. And when you're planting, you need to consider your space. What kind of space do you have to accommodate the type of tomatoes you would want? Now, talking tomatoes, there are two main types of tomatoes. They are the indeterminate and determinate. Now, indeterminate tomatoes are tomatoes that just keep on growing. They can grow to however big, however wide, they just grow. And then determinate tomatoes, once they reach a particular height and width, they stop growing. So whenever you go to buy seeds, check the back of the seeds. They will tell you whether it's actually determinate or indeterminate. Secondly, as I said, look at your space. If you have a small type of space, you're working in an apartment, you have a patio, go for things like the cherry tomatoes. There are different types. You have the honeybee, you have the tiny tim. So just look at your space and envisage what you can plant, because there's nothing worse than having a small space and going ahead and doing an indeterminate tomato. I think last year I had tomatoes that were almost a meter and a half and 1.8 meters high. So it actually really grew. So just gauge your space and your sizes. And the good thing is, with most seeds that you may buy, at the back of the seeds, they will tell you how high your seeds can or your plants will grow. So now I'm going to turn the angle of my camera so you can actually see what I'm doing. This time around, I'm going to be doing the paper towel method to germinate seeds. As I mentioned before, when you're buying seeds, at the back of the seeds, there's usually some instruction on the type of seeds, the height of seed of the plants, and what is required. So for this, for example, here at the back is telling you what it is, and then also mention that it is determinate, which means that no need for staking. And they'll also tell you how high the plant is going to be, depending on what the species of peppers, of the tomatoes. So whenever you go to buy, if you're buying seeds, just read behind the seeds to see what seeds match your spaces. Like this one here is patio choice, so you can see already even here it's designed for small spaces. So I will not overflog the issue. Please read your seed instruction to know the seeds to plant before you go and plant seeds that may not be able to contain your space when they start to fruit and germinate. So what you would need for the soilless seed germination is paper towels, Ziploc bags and a marker, and a spray bottle. So you start by spraying the paper towel, but don't make it too wet. Let it just be a little bit damp. Yeah, not too wet, just a bit damp. Then you take your seeds. I am doing Roma on this one, and I'm going to do the Bonnie Best on this one. So you take your seeds and spread them out on the paper towel. And then you gently fold. Once that's done, you get a Ziploc bag, put a bit of mist in the Ziploc bag, just a little bit, and then you place the wrap paper into that, and then you write what it is on it, and then you place it in a warm, dry place. People recommend putting it on top of your refrigerator, which I'm going to try, but that is a way to go. Or you can put it beside your heat vent if it's not unobstructed, but just a warm, dry place to that. So I'll do the same thing for the bunny best and save. Done. You check on those every 2 days just to see how it's going, and if you find that the paper the paper towel is a little bit dry, just same thing, just spritz a bit of water to keep the space moist, and I will follow through and check on those to keep you posted on the progress. So it's been about a week since we put in our seedlings in the Ziploc bag, and if you open it, or when you open it, you will see that they have started germinating and they actually have a couple of leaves. So once you see that this has happened, you then transplant it into your soil. You should know the rules by now. Whenever you're transplanting, you water. Your soil should be wet or moist before transplanting. So today I'm just going to use whatever I have in my house, i.e. empty toilet bowl containers. You can see I've arranged them into a bowl so at least the water stays in. Then I water. Create a hole. You create a hole in them, and then you pick one of the pieces, the seeds, and then you bury it in the hole, leaving the leaves upright. So I'll do another one. That's the hole. You pick one of the seedlings, and I'll bring it closer so you can actually see it. So you can actually see with this one, the leaves have actually germinated or are now showing. So you place it in the hole and bury it such that the leaves are outside the hole. I'll do the next one again. And for some, if you find out that the seedling is stuck to your tissue, don't worry about that. Just tear the tissue piece out and bury the tissue in. The tissue is also compostable, so it will all work. So that's what you do. I'll do one more. You can see with the leaf, and then you bury it in. So I'll just do the rest. And don't forget to label. I think I can just put it in the container. So I'm going to do the same for the ones in the cup. Same thing. water. And you bring them out, and you can actually see the leaves on them. So same thing, put in a hole. And remember I said for tomatoes, don't worry about the soil being a little bit shallow. Tomatoes tend to be a bit leggy, so we'll still add more soil as we continue to do this. So this particular seedlings are my tiny tin, are my patio tomatoes. So I'm going to put 3 into 1 cup since they're smaller sized tomatoes. So you'll see they'll have their leaves already there. So you just remove it and then place it in the cup, in the hole you buried, and push it in down. Let your leaves be above the soil. I will do the same for the rest. Then you water, and then you place in the sun. My preference is to just sow the seeds into the cups, but some people prefer the idea of germinating on paper towel first, because when you germinate on paper towel, you get to see which seedlings are viable and which ones are not. So that way, at least you know how many plants you should get at the end. But whichever method you choose, it's still the same thing. There's no better method here. It's just the idea of your preference in terms of how your seeds grow. So that's it. Put it in the sun. These ones, within a couple of days or a day or two, they'll perk up and continue growing as the other ones were. With tomatoes, they tend to be a little bit leggy. So you can look at it, you can actually see that the stems are a little bit leggy. And remember, I recommended that whenever you're doing your tomatoes, you don't seed it so far up the cup, just fill it halfway. The idea is once your seeds have finished sprouting, they will be a bit leggy, but then you add a little bit of soil just up until your 2 leaves. So you add soil in there just up until you've covered most of the stem, and then you water and put. So I'm going to do it again just for emphasis. You can see this is a little bit leggy. So I prefer using a spoon because that way I can control the amount of soil I'm putting in. Then you just put more soil around it to give it a little bit more support. And don't worry about the thinness of the stems. Tomatoes tend to have thin stems, and then this method also helps you get deep roots, which is a plus for your tomato seedlings. Okay, so I'll do the rest. Voila, and back to the sun they go. Okay, so this is a couple days later. As you can see, the tomatoes have grown further, and you would notice that the stem has like little hairs on it. Experts say that's still part of the roots. So what you would do is just to add a bit more soil. Remember I just realized I keep on saying remember a lot. But remember I said during the, when we talked about topping the soil, is that you'll continue doing this as the tomatoes grow. So same thing as we did before, just top it up as much as you can up until it reaches the bottom of the leaves, and then you water. I would do it again for this ones. Just add more soil. And then you put in some water. And one more time for demonstration purpose. I realized I like doing things in threes. That's it. And as they grow, the tomatoes stalks get to be more stronger. So remember, these were very, very langy or very, very skinny when we started. But as they're growing, they're getting a little bit more weight or more width. Yeah, weight. And then put. So I'll do that for the rest. And voila, this will go back into the sun. So have you started planting yet? If you haven't, fret not, there's still a little bit of time. It needs between 6 to 8 weeks indoor seeding before the final frost outdoors, and that usually is after May long weekend. So we have about 6 to 8 weeks up until then. And here are some pictures from our fellow yard mamas and papas in terms of them growing. They're doing so well. I'm really, 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 really super proud of them. Please feel free to share your pictures. A couple of people asked me, what am I planting this year? And I think I'm going to be quite ambitious in terms of the seeds I'm planting. So I'm planting Roma, I'm planting Bunny Best, I'm planting Golden Jubilee, I'm going to plant Tiny Tim, Beefsteak, Patio Cherry, Hybrid. We'll see. At least I think I have those 7 so far. But whatever it is, it's still the idea of still plan your space before seeding, and then